Okay, it's time for another speed draft with me, Kim. Yeah, Eldritch Moon has, for me at least, been a pretty good format. Jimmy, on the other hand, he has been pretty unlucky, I think. I've seen some decks he has drafted when he has played himself, and they looked like decks that I usually 3-0 with, but he has had mana issues and flooding and stuff like that, and just been a bit off it, I guess. We played one regular draft yesterday where we had a decent deck, then we mulled to 5, struggled a bit, kept 7, won, kept 7, had our opponent dead on board twice while hellbent, and he top decked Dark Salvation into another removal spell and turned it around. So I guess still the luck has not really been on our side or Jimmy's side when he has been playing with us. Because in between our two TLB drafts that we've done, I guess draft 4 and 5, I think I've made 8 consecutive finals and won 6 of them. So I was a bit intrigued to test if this is actually an Eldritch Moon Jimmy curse. So I'm going to try an 8-4 today by myself and see how it ends up. I guess we'll dive in to the actual drafting and stop talking now. Okay, here we have Spell Queller, which is a really good card. I haven't really tried it. Nibblest Nibblegast Herald. I guess we have like Fury Blade, Vampire, Thermal Alchemist, Prey Upon, Grapple. Some decent cards, but it would be fun to be able to splash or just play white-blue. Courageous Outrider, good if you have a lot of humans. I guess blue-white isn't perfect there, but it can surely work. Lashweed Lurker is good in a heavy emerge deck, but I also like Drag Under, because if I'm blue-white I might be tempo-oriented, and then just being able to bounce something, keep on attacking, draw a card is pretty perfect, I think. And blue decks usually lack good removal, and then you need to play on tempo instead. Outrider would probably be decent also, but Drag Under, even if we move in another direction, I like having a few Drag Unders. Here, I guess we have some bad rares, and I guess Shreds of Sanity is very good when you're in the spell deck. There's an Ironclad Slayer, which might end up being able to get a Choking Restraints or something. I would like that combo. Another Shreds of Sanity, but there's also an Enlightened Maniac, and I do like if I can pick up, like, I don't really like the green-blue emerge deck that much, but I mean, I can play some enablers and maybe the Wretched Griff, and cards like that, and still have a deck that might be blue-white flying, but also have some emerge sub-theme or whatever. Dawn fine playable on the curve. Here we have Scour the Laboratory, which is a card I like, but also a late Foul Emissary. And I do know that like Team Fireball, Channel Fireball, and people like them have Foul Emissary like a first pick card over a lot of the rares. So maybe if this blue-green deck is super open, I should try it again. And there's also a Bloodbriar, but the Cultist seems like it would be a good enabler. And I would, even if I do not end up playing green, I would probably still play a Cultist. It's a fine card, even in blue-white. So I think I take Cultist over Bloodbriar. Bloodbriar is good if you have a lot of emerge and maybe Terrarions and other sacrifice outlets, but it's a ground creature and pretty clunky. Swift Spinner, not really a card I love, but it could be good to board in. Fiendbinder if I stay white, I guess. And there's a Bloodbriar. So we're looking at white, blue, or white, green, or blue-green. We will see. We could also potentially be blue-green splashing the Spell Queller or something. Late Mutation, I like. You can usually get a decent amount of cards in the graveyard and another mutation. Perfect. And if I end up blue-green, the thing I dislike about it the most is that it usually has bad removal. So getting some of those early at least makes it decent. Okay, it's the time to maybe pick up some emerge guys. The behemoth is pretty good. Flash, a lot of toughness. Can usually eat something during combat. And then obviously putting on a big amount of pressure because it's pretty big. And I already have Cultist and Maniac as pretty good enablers. Still hoping to get some Wretched Griff. There's a Raveler, Scarecrow, but now is a perfect pick, I think, for the Griff. We don't have a lot going on with this Ironclad Slayer combo, and we might not even end up in white. The green part of the deck so far doesn't look super, and we have the Spell Queller as a potential white splash. We'll see. It feels like we are pretty stable in blue at least. And from there on we'll end up somewhere. There's another Wretch Griff. We might wheel Laboratory Brute. Heron's Great Champion is very good in the right deck. I don't mind the Shieldmate either, but now we have 3 pretty good emerge guys and some good enablers, and I guess Drag Under and Mutation as our kind of removal. And yeah, maybe we can go bounce stuff early, emerge out bigger stuff, and I do like when the emerge creatures have evasion as well. And now the Cultist looks good here, and we're still not locked into green or white. And as I said, we could potentially just splash the Queller if we get maybe the 0-3 Rampant Growth guy as an enabler. Or okay, there's another Foul Emissary, but there's a Vexing Scuttler, which is a card I'm pretty impressed with. I'm just being able to drag under something, buy yourself some time, Scuttler, and then get back to drag under. And if we get some decent removal, we could also buy that back. And Terrarion works also fine if we want to splash white, for example. Okay, don't love Woodland Patrol. Hope that we're not going to have to play that. We could play Swift Spinner just as a maybe splash it in, eat something, and then sack it to one of our big emerge guys. And Fortune's Favor isn't bad if you can have, for example, the Drown Yard Behemoth up and the Favor at the same time. And I do like wheeling the Brute because we have 2 spontaneous mutation. Then they are actually basically removal. So yeah, I think it's looking fine. I would like to have some, I guess, real removal spells, if you air quote, that really actually take care of stuff. Like Bound by Moonsilver, for example. I mean, I could take a boring pick in like Drown Yard Explorers or maybe another bounce spell, but I do think that this type of deck really needs permanent removal. Like Bound, like other, I guess, good removal spells. So if I'm playing white-blue or splashing white, I do think it's worth splashing the Bound just to have actual real removal. And not much here. Sleep Paralysis, I guess, is fine. I could take Lone Dryad if I end up playing 3 colors. Might not. Okay, so Declaration in Stone is not bad either. There's not much else. I mean, True Fate Sensor is a very powerful card. Stormrider Spirit, I think, will wheel. Yeah, so maybe we are actually playing more white. I mean, green, the only card I really like in green now is Foul Emissary. And in white we have 3 bomb cards, really. Stitch Mangler, fine. That's also something you can sack if you really want a big guy to come out. Silent Observer is a decent sideboard card, I think, against aggro or against like the spirit deck. I mean, we're not really the spirit deck. We're more like a weird emerge deck. Okay, another. We could just take maybe the Stormrider Spirit to have another card that we can have up mana for. And it is some sort of win condition also. I think it's a bit expensive, but it's not bad. Not much here. Could play maybe a Nagging Thoughts for the Spontaneous Mutation. Why not? And if we end up splashing, it can filter our draw a bit, and we actually have nothing to do on turn 2. But this is... Stitchwing Scab is pretty good with Self-Mill, and... I don't really love that Swift Spinner now. I mean, we have a lot of flyers, naturally. And Drownyard Explorers is a fine 4-drop in a deck like this. And Fortune's Favor also fills up the graveyard for the mutations. So, I mean, the few times I've played blue-green, I've really tried to get removal. And every time I play against it with my aggro decks, they don't have enough removal, so usually you just run that deck over. I've never lost against blue-green so far. I don't really love the spirit. It actually looks like we could just play blue-white. We'll see. I mean, I don't really love the few green cards. We have a powerful end game. We have pretty good enablers. I guess I'll hate on a throttle. And I mean, early we could just play out like a Nagging Thoughts or a Terrarion. I mean, usually the curve in blue-green emerge starts on 3, unless they have some 2-drop ramps or 2-drop the Rampant Growth guy. So they usually have a few 2-drops, but most of the time they do basically nothing the first 2 turns. And if I'm lucky and play against decks that also durdle around, I mean, my late game should be pretty good. So we're basically mono blue, and then splashing, I think, 1 color. Green looks actually pretty bad. And we have a declaration. I mean, with just blue-white, we have declaration, bound, drag under, spontaneous mutation, and spell queller. So then we have both a tempo game that we can play with Queller and Behemoth. We have evasion in Griff's Scab. We have good enablers with double cultist, Drownyard Explorer, and the Maniac. And we could actually just play the Dawngriff as another flyer. So then it's like blue-white flying with a heavy emerge theme, and actually for once pretty good removal. And the Terrarion was better with Bloodbriar in the deck, and if I just cut green completely, I might just play 1, just because it filters the deck and it's good with spontaneous mutation. So, I mean, the mutations here are actually good removal, because we have Nagging Thoughts, we have Drag Under, Terrarion, Brute, and stuff that we will sacrifice for the big guys. So we will probably have a pretty stacked graveyard. We can board in Silent Observer against annoying X1s, or just aggro. Yeah, I think this looks better than when I have played actual green-blue. This is more... This can win, I mean, just by being evasive, and it actually has good removal. So maybe 11-6 could work, or 10-7 if I really want to play Spell Queller on 3 and Dawngriff. And Bound by Moonsilver is super nice because we can move it around, so that's even very good removal. So yeah, we'll try this and see you for a match.